Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by Chris Eubank Jr. Chris, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Big fight, Liam Smith rematch just around the corner, September 2nd in Manchester. We found out earlier this week, I'm sure a lot later than you, that you're now going to be training with Brian McIntyre, who's very much the man of the moment for this rematch. Just tell us what made you pick him, and was it already in the works before the Terrence Crawford victory?
Yes, we talked previously or before that fight, and he obviously said, "Listen, I've got to take care of this fight first, but if you want to work, then we can get to it immediately afterwards." So that was agreed. Obviously, the fight happened. It was an amazing result, and we were in the gym the next day, and to see how Terrence performed, it gave me a lot of encouragement in this team, because they helped him to get to that peak performance level. So yeah, it's a short camp. They're not going to change me in 4 weeks, but they're going to help me to do what I want to do. Whether I had a trainer or not, I'm approaching this fight the way I want to approach it, and so but I'm entrusting them to help me to get to do what I want to do, and yeah, I believe in these guys, so I'm excited.
Bomac's clearly a world-class trainer, but why him specifically for you? Is it a style thing? Is it location, who you'd be working with in terms of sparring partners and so on? What's the attraction?
Yeah, I mean, it was a handful of things. Obviously they're in Vegas, I'm in Vegas, so that aligned nicely. And I've always watched Terrence and been impressed by him, by his style, by his fitness. So I was always kind of interested in his training program and his team. I always thought that I'm sure they could do something good with me too. So when Roy said, he couldn't train me for this fight, that was kind of that was kind of a natural pick for me.
And after you exercised the rematch clause, which was pretty soon after the first fight, there was kind of a long waiting period before the fight was confirmed. Was that because of other options you had on the table? I'm sure everyone's been asking you already about Conor Benn today.
Yeah, there were offers, which I entertained, but it came down to what I wanted to do personally, and that was always going to be Liam. The Conor Benn fight is always going to be there, and obviously he had a lot going on, and he still has a lot going on. So I wasn't. I didn't want to fight him at that point. I wanted to make sure that I righted the wrong and avenged the loss before I moved on to anything else. Because that stuff eats away at you. You're always gonna have that desire to get back in the ring and fight a guy that you can beat. I didn't want to let that fight slip away.
And I should ask, just Conor Benn before we move on. A lot of stuff's come out recently, mainly from his team. Do you now believe within yourself that he's an innocent man?
No one believes that. He failed 2 drugs tests. He can be absolved and allowed to fight back in the UK and whatever else, but he's still going to have to live with being labeled a drug cheat for the rest of his career, regardless of what lawyers and courts and Eddie Hearn says. Listen, a lot of fighters go through it. A lot of fighters have been caught, and they go on to have many more fights. It's part of the sport, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
Now, a win over Liam Smith gets you revenge, redemption to an extent. Where do you think it puts you on the world stage? Will you be right back where you were before the first fight?
I believe so. Yeah, and there's a lot of big fights out there for me. It's hard to pin down these world title fights, man. It really is. But I'm blessed with the ability to make big fights with great fighters outside of world title contention. So, after I beat Smith, the sky's the limit.
Could there be a third fight? Could this become a trilogy?
That I could not tell you. It's always a possibility. It always is. But my thoughts are not that. My thoughts are get in there and show everybody who the better man is. Who I'm going to fight next, and rematches and trilogies. All that stuff is not even in my mindset right now.
The relationship with Bomac, do you see that being a long-term one, or are you looking at trainers on a fight-by-fight basis?
I think it could be. I'm hoping that everything goes to plan and that the camp goes really well. It's gone well so far, for sure. So if everything works out, there will be no reason for me to go looking elsewhere.
Now, another name that you've been linked with in the past is Jermall Charlo. We saw him getting involved in something of a fracas with Caleb Plant in the build-up to Terrence's win over Errol Spence. He seemed to take quite a hefty slap, not a punch, as was originally reported. And I wanted to ask you, I think I already know the answer, but I wanted to put it to you. If Caleb Plant was to try something similar with you, what would your reaction have been?
Yeah, it was a strange one because Charlo tried to come off as this tough guy, this hard nut, and he got slapped, and he kind of just, from what I saw anyway, he just took it and kind of didn't react, which was pretty embarrassing if you as a fighter. Yeah. If anything like that ever happened to me, that would not be my reaction. That's all I can say. But yeah, that's Caleb is he's got some balls in him, that guy. He tried to slap Canelo too, right?
Yeah, we got countered in that instance.
He did, yeah. He loves to slap these guys. I don't know what's up with this guy, but hey, listen, he's making waves. I'm sure he's trying to build a fight with somebody. And now everyone will want to see him fight Charlo. So, he knows what he's doing.
And from one Charlo to another, the smaller of the two, Jermall Charlo, is going to be fighting Canelo not long after your fight with Liam Smith. What do you make of that? Do you give him much of a chance stepping up 2 weight classes?
I didn't even realize that it was the smaller Charlo that was going to fight him. I get confused about these guys, and
they are twins, in fairness.
When I heard that he was fighting Charlo, I just automatically thought it was the bigger one. So now you're telling me it's the smaller one. That's insane, man. I mean, how Canelo gets away with this stuff is beyond me. But yeah, it is what it is. When you're the money man, when you're the cash cow in the sport, you get to do things like that.
And just finally, you never got the chance to rematch Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, it could still happen if the rumours of a comeback are true. George Groves is firmly in retirement. If you do get revenge over Liam Smith on September 2nd, would that then become the biggest win of your career personally?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. It should probably be the most satisfying win. People say you're only as good as your last fight, so I have to win this fight. This is a hugely important fight for me, and once I pulled it off, the sky's the limit.
Great stuff. Chris, always a pleasure, and very best of luck for September the 2nd.
Okay, thanks.
Cheers. Take care.